Imagine, just for a second, being completely stranded in the middle of a freezing, windswept desert at midnight.
Hmm.
The cold is like seeping into your bones, and the darkness is so absolute that you can't even see your own hands in front of your face.
Right. Terrifying.
Yeah, it really is. And you reach into your pocket and find a single match. Think about the immense psychological weight of that tiny piece of wood.
Mhm.
You strike it, and for one brief, glorious second, there's a spark.
Yeah.
There's heat. You can suddenly see the rocks around your feet. You feel this huge surge of hope, and then a gust of wind just blows it out.
Wow.
The darkness that crashes back down on you isn't just the absence of light anymore, It's the suffocating heavy weight. It's honestly far worse than if you had never struck the match at all.
Welcome to Insights. I'm Adam Rivers.
And I'm Sarah Collins. In this episode, we'll reflect carefully on the Qur'an verse by verse, focusing on wording, context, and coherence. Here on Insights, we unpack the profound layers of revelation to find practical wisdom for our lives. In our previous episode, we explored the ultimate losing transaction.
Right, the business transaction.
Exactly. How certain individuals trade guidance for error, engaging in a spiritual commerce that yields absolutely zero profit.
Today, we continue that reflection with the 17th verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. The translation reads, "Their example is that of one who kindled a fire. But when it illuminated what was around him, Allah took away their light and left them in darknesses so they could not see." So, why does the revelation suddenly shift from describing a business transaction to painting a terrifying scene of someone lost in the dark?
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
It really is. And to understand this, we have to look at how the revelation systematically moves human consciousness.
Okay.
In the preceding verses, the concept of hypocrisy was presented as a transaction. But that is, an inherently abstract concept.
Right, it's very intellectual.
Exactly. It engages the intellect and requires calculation. But here, the revelation intentionally shifts away from that abstract realm of buying and selling. It moves into a highly visceral, sensory, and visual scene. Parables in the Qur'an are never just literary decorations. They're precise instruments designed to expose something. Because hypocrisy is, by its very nature, an internally complex and deeply contradictory state.
So it's about making the invisible visible.
Yes. The hypocrite works tirelessly to hide their true intentions. So a parable takes that concealed internal reality, breaks it open, and literally drags it out into a visible external arena.
That makes so much sense. I mean, think about the difference between reading a dry 50-page financial report about a company quietly going bankrupt
Right.
versus standing on the sidewalk and watching that exact same company's headquarters physically burn to the ground.
Yeah, completely different experience.
It really is. Seeing the reality unfold right in front of your eyes is fundamentally different than just, processing a list of facts on a page. You actually feel the devastation.
Exactly. The revelation doesn't just want to inform you that these individuals lost their investment. It wants you to witness the exact mechanics of their ruin. It wants you to feel that initial spark of false hope, the sudden disorientation, and the crushing weight of the darkness that follows. This single parable actually compresses all their previously mentioned traits.
Wait, so the single visual image actually holds all those different psychological traits at once?
It really does. It acts as a master key. Earlier in the revelation, we heard about them having a disease in their hearts, being two-faced and claimed to be reformers while actually causing corruption.
Right, all those different descriptions.
Yeah. And instead of leaving those as fragmented concepts in your mind, this parable binds them together. By watching how this one person interacts with the fire and the dark, you are simultaneously watching their duality, their disease, and their false claims all functioning at once.
Wow. That is such an incredibly efficient way to communicate. But looking at how the verse is actually constructed, I have a question about the grammar. It seems to jump around a bit.
Why would the revelation start by talking about a group, saying their example, switch to a single person, one who kindled, and then go back to the group at the end?
Yeah, exactly. Why do that?
Well, this grammatical shift is actually a brilliant stroke of psychological precision. By moving to the singular one who kindled, it provides a universal model for us.
Okay, a model.
Right. It tells us that despite the many faces they wear, their varied tactics or their different roles in society, their core essence is completely identical. The singular model represents the unified, diseased reality of the entire group. The disease is one, even if the faces are many.
So no matter how many different masks they put on for society or how uniquely they think they're playing the game, their internal mechanism operates exactly the same way.
Exactly.
So what's the significance of the actual action this singular person is taking in the scene? Because they are specifically trying to start a fire.
Right, and the specific verb chosen here is istaqwada. This Arabic word means seeking or demanding to kindle a fire. The specific prefix used implies a desperate search or a request for provision from an outside source.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it definitively proves that the individual in the parable does not possess any internal light of their own. They are completely, entirely reliant on extracting it from somewhere else.
It's like, imagine trying to warm your hands on someone else's campfire.
Mm-hmm.
You're out in the freezing cold, but instead of taking the time to gather your own wood, build a foundation, and nurture your own sustainable heat, you just walk over and use theirs.
Like taking the shortcut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want the immediate comfort, the social perks of the community, but you haven't done any of the difficult internal work to actually sustain it yourself.
That is the exact dynamic at play here. They lack the established light of genuine conviction. So they approach the believers to borrow some of that ambient light. They learn the vocabulary, they mimic the behaviors, and they extract the social benefits. They want the quick utility of the believer's company to help them navigate the dark, but they absolutely refuse to pay the price of actual steadfastness.
Right.
And notice, they specifically sought a fire,
Right.
not the sun, not daylight. Fire is temporary, it's localized, it requires constant external fuel, and most importantly, while it gives temporary light, it carries the inherent danger of burning.
So they just want the sheer utility of the revelation, not an actual transformation of their hearts.
Precisely. They treat the revelation strictly as a tool for leverage.
Wow.
They just want enough light to manage their worldly position, secure their networking, and protect their wealth. They don't want the permanent, unshakable guidance of the sun because that requires true submission.
Okay, so if they're treating this profound revelation just as a temporary tool, what actually happens when they finally get that fire lit?
Well, if you strike a match in the middle of a vast, terrifying desert, what does it actually help you see?
Not much, really. Just what's right in front of you.
Exactly. And the verse uses the word lama, which means when, but it indicates a rapid sequence of events.
Okay.
The fire lights up, but this phase of illumination is incredibly short-lived. It never takes root. The revelation says it illuminated what was around him.
Just what was around him.
Right. The light is entirely superficial. It only shows their immediate environment, the social dynamics, the office politics, how to act in that specific moment. But it does not illuminate the long path ahead of them. And it certainly doesn't shed any light on their internal state.
I instantly think of a person who is incredibly socially smart. Like, we all know someone like this, right?
Yeah.
They know exactly how to manage their image perfectly. They know all the office politics, who to flatter, what to say. But they possess absolutely no moral compass or actual life direction. They can see exactly what's right in front of them to get ahead, but they are totally lost in the grand scheme of things.
That superficial awareness is their defining hallmark. In the balance of the Qur'an, they are considered completely blind.
Really? Blind?
Yes, because they only care about arranging their faces for people, not arranging their hearts for God. Their internal reality is completely neglected.
They know exactly how to arrange their face for the public, but they leave their inner self completely unmanaged.
Exactly. They're so obsessed with optimizing their external environment that their inner self is left in ruins. They have no true guidance.
So what inevitably happens to this temporary borrowed light? Because it obviously can't last.
When you misuse a profound gift given to you, what is the universal law that follows? The verse says, Allah took away their light. This isn't just bad luck. It is a strict divine consequence. It's a universal law that results directly from their mockery and their transactional approach to the revelation.
But wait, it specifically says he took away their light, not that he extinguished the fire.
Yes, and that is a terrifying precision in the wording. Fire provides light, but it also produces intense heat, suffocating smoke, and fear. By specifically taking away the light, the divine consequence strips them of the only beneficial aspect, the vision. What they are left with are all the terrifying, painful aspects of the fire. The heat, the smoke, the anxiety.
Oh, wow. That's That's like keeping all the crushing anxiety and burnout of a high-stakes situation, but losing all the clarity and purpose that made it worth doing in the first place.
Exactly.
Like you're just left with the toxic stress and the smoke, but you can't even see why you're doing it anymore.
That's the exact miserable state they find themselves in. And the Arabic phrasing used here is thahaba bi.
What does that mean?
It means removing it completely out of reach. It doesn't just fade away, it is actively confiscated. If you treat the revelation merely as an opportunistic tool, you lose your spiritual sensitivity. The verses will literally pass right over you without ever waking your heart.
Wait, so you can actually lose the physical ability to feel the revelation if you treat it just as a utility?
Yes, that is the most devastating kind of loss a human being can experience.
Yeah.
The capacity to be moved is entirely removed from them.
That is chilling. Truly chilling. But why does the revelation call it their light? We established that they only borrowed it from the believers.
Have you ever borrowed something for so long that you convinced yourself you actually owned it?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
It speaks to the ultimate delusion of the hypocrite. Because they successfully managed their outward affiliation for a while, they arrogantly convinced themselves that they were the true owners of this light. The revelation calls it their light right before reality violently shatters that illusion, proving they own absolutely nothing.
Wow. So when that illusion shatters and they are plunged into this state, what happens next?
The verse says, he left them.
Left them.
Yes. And that phrase induces profound psychological terror. It implies complete abandonment to the consequences of their own choices. The comfortable cover is gone. And notice, it says they are left in darknesses, plural.
Darknesses. That's such an interesting way to conceptualize it. It makes me think about how one single lie requires 10 more lies just to cover it up, right?
Exactly.
You start with one piece of darkness, but soon you're trapped in this entire maze of deception that blocks out the truth from every possible angle. It compounds.
That compounding effect is exactly why it's plural. In the Qur'an, the truth, or the light, is almost always singular. It has one source, one clear direction.
Right.
But deviance is plural and chaotic. They're dealing with the compounding layers of their darkness. The darkness of lying, the darkness of constant fear, the darkness of their two-faced duality of envy, of mockery.
So it's not just one mistake in a corner of their mind, it's an entire architecture of internal blackout.
Yes, they have built a complete, impenetrable system of psychological barriers. Every time they chose manipulation over sincerity, they added another layer of darkness.
So sitting in this dense, self-constructed architecture of darkness, what is the final result of this abandonment?
Well, if the entire reason they sought the fire in the first place was just to see, what is the ultimate ironic punishment?
To not be able to see at all.
Exactly. The verse concludes with, they could not see. Their trade completely, utterly failed. They have physical eyes, yes. They might even think they are highly observant. But they have absolute zero spiritual sight. They can see immediate material gains, but they were entirely blind to the destruction hidden within those gains.
It's like having perfect 20/20 physical vision, right? But still walking straight off a cliff because your brain simply cannot process the concept of danger. Your eyes see the drop, but you just confidently step off anyway because your internal processor is totally broken.
That is the exact tragedy of their condition. And this scene completely destroys the illusion of the smooth, smart hypocrite.
What do you mean?
To the public, they look perfectly in control. But underneath, the revelation exposes that they are just terrified individuals in a scary night, living in constant, exhausting existential anxiety.
So underneath all that smooth social maneuvering and mask wearing, their core is just pure existential panic.
Absolutely. They live in constant fear that their cover will be blown. Their internal world is miserable and chaotic.
So how does this state compare to the true believers we heard about earlier?
What is the fundamental difference between standing on something solid versus being completely submerged in something?
Oh, stability versus drowning.
Exactly. The grammatical brilliance here is stunning. When describing the believers, the Quran says they are upon guidance. The word upon implies elevation, stability, and control. But when describing the hypocrites, it says they are in darknesses, they are completely engulfed, swallowed up by their environment, with absolutely no solid ground to stand on.
That visual is so powerful, standing confidently upon a path versus drowning in an ocean of darkness.
Yeah.
So pulling back from the parable itself, what is this warning us about universally? Like, what does this tell us about the light of revelation?
It clarifies the vast difference between mere information and true light. A person can easily memorize the vocabulary of faith and understand the social dynamics,
Right.
but that raw information only transforms into actual light when it is internalized. This establishes a universal law for humanity, the difference between a genuine seeker of truth and a mere seeker of utility.
I really want you to listen to this and audit your own relationship with the revelation. Are you approaching it to genuinely be guided, to actually let it correct your flaws? Or are you just cherry-picking the parts that polish your social image and make you look good to the community?
That is the core question. Because losing this light is a moral failure, not a technical one. The light of the Qur'an is preserved by pure sincerity and profound gratitude, not by verbal claims or outward affiliation.
Wait, so sincerity isn't just a nice feeling, it's the actual required fuel that keeps the light burning.
Yes, it is the non-negotiable fuel. Divine light simply cannot coexist with deliberate deception. If you try to mix the two, the strict divine law dictates that the light will be removed.
So bringing this all together, what is the ultimate takeaway from this entire parable?
Can a human being ever truly benefit from the revelation without entirely surrendering their heart to it? The final summary is that this verse completely shatters that illusion. You cannot use the Qur'an merely for personal gain or social comfort without genuine faith. Trying to do so doesn't make you clever. It leaves you completely abandoned, without sight, disconnected from your true self, and entirely without a destination.
Thank you for that incredibly profound explanation. We've seen how treating the revelation as a mere tool of convenience only sparks a temporary, fragile fire. We learned that outward affiliation without inward sincerity inevitably leads to a devastating loss of spiritual sight. And ultimately, we discovered that true guidance requires complete surrender, not just superficial utility.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, are you building your life upon the solid ground of guidance, or are you just striking temporary matches in the dark? That's it for this episode of Insights. If you found this reflection helpful, follow the show and join us next time as we continue verse by verse in the Quran. Until then, take one idea from this verse into your day.